Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are rolling up our sleeves and tackling a topic that feels like it's growing larger every single year.
Oh, yeah.
If you work in data or even just adjacent to data, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We are looking at the PL-300,
The Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst certification.
the big one, the gold standard. And honestly, with what? Over 30 million monthly active users on Power BI now, this isn't just about knowing how to make a pretty chart anymore, is it? It feels like the stakes are higher.
Much higher. It's moved beyond just being a tool skill.
Mm.
It's really about proving you have the architectural chops to handle enterprise data. But the reason we're doing this deep dive right now is that it shifted under our feet on January 15, 2026.
Right, the 2026 update. I looked at the changelog, and it's not just a few tweaks. It feels like a whole philosophy shift.
It absolutely is. The scope is pivoted. In the past, the exam and the role really was about building a report. You get data, you build a chart, you publish. The new skills outline is explicitly focused on delivering actionable insights. And, this is a big phrase, enabling self-service analytics.
So you're not just the builder anymore. You're the enabler. You're kind of building the kitchen so other people can cook.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Okay, so here is the game plan. We are going to treat this episode like the life cycle of a real project. We'll start with the new 2026 tech, because yes, we have to talk about AI, then we'll go through cleaning data, modeling it, visualizing it, and finally securing it. We're pulling all this from official 2026 study guides, technical blogs like SpokeLearn and Cert Library, and some really gritty frontline reports from the Reddit community.
The Reddit threads are gold. I mean, they tell you what the exam's actually like, not just what Microsoft says it's like.
Exactly. So let's start with the shiny new object, segment 1, the 2026 shift. What is the single biggest change that's going to trip people up if they're studying off old materials?
It's the arrival of your new coworker. AI is now a testable skill.
I feel like we knew this was coming, but what does that actually mean for a test? Am I, like, writing prompts?
In a way, yes. Copilot integration is now a specific domain. So, according to the updated study guides, candidates are expected to know how to use Copilot to create narrative visuals.
Narrative visual.
Yeah, that means using the AI to look at your chart and automatically generate a text summary of what's happening in the data.
So it's not just drag and drop sales. It's more like, hey, Copilot, tell me why sales dropped.
Precisely. And you need to know how to use it to suggest report page content and even summarize the underlying semantic models. You're really being tested on your ability to audit the AI effectively.
Interesting. So it's less about can you click the button and more about do you know what the button is actually doing.
Right.
But there was another addition that caught my eye, and frankly, it confused me a bit. Visual calculations.
Ah, yes, visual calculations. This is a massive shift in how we think about DAX.
Okay, so here's my confusion. We already have DAX. We build measures in the model. Why do I need to do calculations on the visual? Isn't that just making things messy?
It's a valid concern, and normally I'd agree with you. But think about it this way. Traditionally, if you wanted to do something like a running total or a moving average, you had to write some pretty complex DAX in the model.
Yeah, that was heavy lifting.
It was. Visual calculations let you create those calculations directly on the visual itself using a simplified version of DAX.
So it's like if the model is the engine of the car, visual calcs are maybe like adjusting the mirrors from the driver's seat.
That's a great analogy. It moves the logic from the model layer to the report layer.
Yeah.
It's so much faster for that quick and dirty analysis. And here's the exam trap. You need to know the trade-off.
Okay.
A visual calculation only exists on that visual. You can't reuse it anywhere else.
Okay, that clicks. So if I need total sales everywhere, that goes in the model as a measure. If I just need difference from previous row on this one specific chart.
You can use a visual calc. You got it.
Yeah.
And the exam absolutely expects you to know when to use which.
One more thing on the new Stuff Performance Analyzer. I used to think of this as just, a debugging tool for when things were slow.
Not anymore. It's a required skill.
Hmm.
You need to demonstrate. You can use the DAX Query View and Performance Analyzer to identify exactly which visual, which measure is slowing down your report. It's not enough to build. You have to optimize.
Fair enough. Nobody likes a slow report.
I know.
All right, let's move to the actual work. Segment 2. Prepare the data. This is the kitchen prep phase.
The most important phase.
Yeah.
And it's 25 to 30% of the exam.
There is a classic interview question that I'm sure appears on the test in some form. What is the fundamental difference between Power Query and DAX? Because to a beginner, they both just look like writing code to change data.
It is so crucial to separate them. Think of Power Query as the kitchen prep area, It uses the M language. This all happens before the data even gets loaded into your report. You're chopping vegetables, peeling potatoes, removing the bad spots.
So this is your ETL extract, transform, load.
Exactly. You're cleaning, shaping, removing nulls, changing text to date. DAX, on the other hand, that happens after the food is plated. It stands for Data Analysis Expressions. You aren't changing the underlying data, you're asking questions of it.
So if I try to filter out bad rows using DAC.
You've already lost. You're bringing all that garbage into the model and then just trying to hide it. That kills performance. You have to clean it in Power Query first.
Okay, clean first, analyze later. Got it. Now let's talk connections. The import versus DirectQuery debate. I know import is the default, right?
Yes. Import means you literally copy the data into Power BI's memory. It's incredibly fast because it's cached. Think of it like memorizing a speech. You can recite it instantly.
In DirectQuery.
DirectQuery is like reading off a teleprompter that's being updated in real time. You don't store the data, you just store the connection. Every single time you click a slicer, Power BI has to go all the way back to the database, ask for the data, and then wait for an answer.
So it's slower. Why would I ever want to do that?
Two specific reasons that absolutely show up on the exam. One, data freshness. If a client says, I need to see sales that happened 2 minutes ago, import won't work.
Right, because import only refreshes on a schedule, maybe a few times a day.
It's a snapshot. DirectQuery is live. So if you see a requirement for maximum 5-minute latency, that's code for DirectQuery. The second reason is security. Sometimes data is so sensitive that company policy dictates it cannot be stored in the cloud. It has to stay in the original database.
And DirectQuery respects that. It just queries it, it doesn't move it.
Exactly.
Got it. Real-time needs or strict security equals DirectQuery. Otherwise, stick to import for speed. I saw a tip from a Reddit user, SlayerC20, cool name by the way, who mentioned a specific trap about error handling.
Yes, this is the cleaning trap. You need to know how to handle errors in Power Query. For example, your source is an Excel file, and someone changes the column name from client to customer. Your refresh will fail.
The dreaded column X not found.
That's the one. The exam will ask how to fix that, or how to make the query resilient to those kinds of changes. Also, he mentioned knowing your joins. Inner join versus left join.
Okay, refresh my memory on that.
So an inner join keys only the rows that match in both tables. If you have a sale but there's no matching customer in your customer table, that sale just vanishes.
Oh, wow.
The left join keeps everything from your main table, your left table, and just adds the matching details where it can.
That feels like a huge distinction. If I do an inner join by accident, I might lose actual sales data just because a customer name was spelled wrong.
And that is precisely why it's on the exam.
All right, we've chopped the veggies, now we cook. Segment 3, model the data. This is another massive chunk, 25 to 30%. And honestly, this is where I feel like people get intimidated.
It's the heart of Power BI. If the model is bad, the report will be slow, or, even worse, the numbers will be wrong.
And it all starts with the star schema. I hear this term constantly. Why is it a star?
Imagine a hub and spoke system. In the very middle, you have your fact table. This is the event. It's long and skinny. It's who bought what, when, and for how much. Mostly just numbers and IDs.
Okay, the transactions.
Right. And then surrounding that fact table, like points on a star, are your dimension tables. These are your who, what, where, when. The customer table, the product table, the store table.
So why split them up? Why not just have one giant spreadsheet with everything?
Efficiency. If you have 1 million sales, you don't want to write the customer's full address 1 million times. You write it once in the customer table, give it an ID, and just put that ID in the sales table. Much smaller, much faster.
Makes sense. Database 101. But here is where it gets tricky for me. Calculated columns versus measures. Spokelearn made a big deal about this.
This is arguably the most common mistake beginners make. A calculated column adds a new column to your table, physically. It computes row by row when you hit refresh, and it stays there. It takes up space in your model.
Okay. And a measure.
A measure is a formula that just sits there, waiting. It doesn't calculate anything until you drop it onto a chart. It's completely dynamic. It calculates based on whatever filters you've selected at that moment.
So if I want to calculate profit for every single transaction, so I can, say, filter by high profit or low profit, that's a column.
Yes, because you need to filter or slice by it. But if you just want to see total profit or average profit for the year on a card visual,
that has to be a measure.
It has to be a measure. If you use a column for that, you just bloat your file size unnecessarily, and you might get the wrong answers when you start aggregating.
Like?
Always default to measures unless you absolutely need to filter by the result.
Got it. Now let's talk about time. The exam seems obsessed with dates. Why can't I just use the date field that's already in my sales data?
You can, but you really shouldn't. Power BI has this feature called Auto Date Time that secretly creates hidden date tables for every single date column you have. It makes your file huge. The pro move, and the exam answer, is to create a dedicated common date table.
And that's the one you connect everything to, ideally one that marks holidays and fiscal years and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. Without a separate date table, all those cool time intelligence functions, like compare to last year or year-over-year growth, they just won't work correctly.
Speaking of functions, we have to talk DAX. The cheat sheets list a few must-knows.
Calculate. If you learn one function, learn calculate. It is the superhero of DAX. It allows you to change the reality of a calculation.
Change the reality. That sounds intense.
It modifies the filter context.
Hmm.
For example, you can tell Power BI, show me total sales, but I want you to ignore the fact that the user selected 2025 on the slicer. Or, show me sales for the color red, regardless of what else is selected on the page.
Okay, that's powerful. What else is on the list?
Use relationship.
Yeah.
This one is fun.
Is that for tracking office romances?
No, not quite. It's for what we call role-playing dimensions.
Mhm.
So imagine you have an orders table. It has an order date and a ship date. Both of those need to connect to your main date table.
But you can only have one active relationship at a time, right?
Correct. Usually order date would be the active one. But what if your boss wants to see sales by ship date? You use relationship inside a calculate measure to say, hey, just for this one calculation, use the ship date relationship instead.
Ah, so it activates the dormant relationship just for that one measure.
Precisely. It keeps your model clean, so you don't need two separate date tables just for that.
That is very handy. Okay, moving on to segment 4. Visualize and analyze. This used to be the easy part. Pick a bar chart, pick a color. But Spokelearn says it's evolved.
It has. It's all about user experience now. It's about building an app, not just a report.
Explain bookmarks. I see them on the syllabus, but what are they for?
Think of a bookmark like saving a state in a video game. You can set up your report with specific filters on, specific visuals visible or hidden, and then you save that configuration as a bookmark. Then you can attach that bookmark to a button.
So I could have a button that says Show CEO View, and it hides all the granular tables and just shows the big KPI.
Exactly. It lets you swap entire views in and out without ever leaving the page. It makes the report feel so much more interactive and polished.
And what about the analyze part? It's not just visual types, is it?
No.
Yeah?
You need to know the AI visuals. The key influencers visual is a big one. You drag sales into it, and it uses machine learning to tell you, hey, when discount is high, sales go up. It finds the correlations for you.
That's the decomposition tree too, right? That visual that lets you break down a number by different categories?
Yes, the exam loves the decomposition tree because it's a perfect example of self-service. You give the user the power to choose how they want to drill down into the data themselves.
Now, a serious point. Accessibility. I feel like this gets overlooked in the real world, but the exam takes it very seriously.
Very seriously. You need to know about tab order.
That's for screen readers.
Yes. If a user is blind and using a screen reader when they hit the tab key, the focus should move through the charts in logical order: title, then slicer, then chart, not just jumping randomly all over the screen. You have to manually set that order.
And color contrast, I assume.
Oh, yeah. Don't put light gray text on a white background. The exam might literally show you a bad report and ask you to identify why it fails accessibility standards.
Okay, one last gotcha in the section alerts. I saw a tricky note about this.
The dashboard versus report trap. This catches everyone. In the Power BI service, a report is what you publish from desktop. A dashboard is a single page where you pin visuals from different reports. You can only set data alerts on dashboard tiles.
Wait, so I can't set an alert on my main report page?
No. You have to pin the visual to a dashboard first. And double trap, you can only set alerts on cards, KPIs, and gauges. You cannot set an alert on a bar chart.
Wow. Okay. Alerts equal dashboards, and only for single numbers. That is a total exam-specific detail.
It is a classic.
We are in the home stretch, segment 5, manage and secure Power BI. This is 15 to 20%, but let's be real, if you mess this up in the real world, you get fired.
Absolutely. This is the gatekeeper section, and the heavyweight champion here is RLS, row-level security.
The Reddit threads were screaming about RLS. Walk us through the workflow, because I think I have it backwards.
Okay, here's the life cycle of RLS. First, you're in Power BI Desktop. You create a role, let's call it West Coast Sales. Then you write a DAX expression for that role, like Region West.
So that's the logic. I'm just defining the filter.
Right. But you do not add people in Desktop. You just define the rules. Then you publish to the Power BI service. That is where you add the actual users. You go to the dataset security settings and add Steve to the West Coast sales role.
So, define in desktop, assign in service. Why is it separated like that?
Because the people change constantly.
Yeah.
Steve might quit. You don't want to have to open and redeploy the whole report just because Steve quit. You just change the assignment in the service. It's much more flexible.
That makes perfect sense. Now, there is a dynamic version of this too, right?
Yes, and the exam prefers it. Instead of hard-coding West, you use the DAX function user principal name. This function checks the email address of the person who's currently logged in.
Oh, clever.
So you just write one rule that checks their email against an employee table to filter the data automatically. One rule for everyone. Much smarter.
Okay, let's talk workspace roles. Admin, member, contributor, viewer. I heard there's a trap here with the member role.
There is. In standard English, being a member sounds passive, like I'm a member of the gym, I just go there. But in Power BI, a member is very powerful. They can share the report, they can publish changes, they can reshare things.
Wait, so if I make my boss a member just so he can see the numbers, he could accidentally delete the report?
Yes. If you only want someone to see the data, they must be a viewer. Or, even better, don't let them in the workspace at all. Publish an app.
Ah, apps are for consumption, workspaces are for collaboration.
That is the mantra. You got it.
Last tech bit before strategy gateways. Simple explanation.
Think of a gateway as a bridge, a secure tunnel. If your data is in the cloud, like in SharePoint, Power BI can see it, no problem. But if your data is on a server in your office, basement, on premises, the cloud can't see it. The gateway is the software bridge that lets the cloud reach down and securely refresh that data.
No gateway, no refresh for on-prem data.
Correct. Simple as that.
Okay, we have covered the content. Let's talk about the actual exam day experience. Segment 6. You walk in, you sit down. What is the vibe?
Stress management. You have 100 minutes for about 40 to 60 questions. But the curveball is the case studies.
I've heard horror stories. What do they look like?
The screen splits. On the left side, you get a bunch of tabs emails from stakeholders, a diagram of the database, a list of business requirements. On the right, you get maybe 4 or 5 questions based on all those documents.
So it's a reading comprehension test as much as it is a data test.
It is. And here is the kicker, the point of no return. Case studies are their own self-contained section. Once you finish the questions for that case study and click Next Section, you cannot go back.
So no flagging those questions to review at the end.
Nope. Once you leave that case study, it's locked. So you have to be absolutely sure of your answers before you move on.
That is brutal. Okay, passing score is 700 out of 1,000. Is it doable?
It is doable, but do not rely solely on the Microsoft official practice tests.
Why not?
The feedback from the community, specifically from that user Slayer C20 again, is that the official practice tests are a bit different from reality. They might test the theory, but the real exam tests the implementation and the weird little edge cases.
So you need muscle memory.
Exactly. You need to open Power BI and actually break things. When a question asks, where do you click to set up RLS, you shouldn't be guessing. You should literally see the menu in your head because you've done it 10 times.
So hands-on labs are mandatory. Don't just read about it, be about it.
100%.
All right, let's bring this deep dive home. We've covered a lot. If we look at the big picture here, passing the PL-300 in 2026 isn't just about memorizing functions.
No, not at all. It's about the life cycle. You clean data efficiently in Power Query so your model is fast. You model with a star schema and use measures, not columns. You visualize with the user's experience in mind, storytelling, accessibility, and you secure it all with RLS.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave the listener with a thought. We talked about visual calculations, that new feature where you can write DAX right on the chart.
It's a fascinating development.
It effectively democratizes the hard stuff. It lets an analyst do complex math without ever touching the underlying model. But it raises a really big question for me. Does this signal a future where the role of the data modeler and the report analyst drift further and further apart?
It's a very valid question. Are we moving toward a world where the modeler is just an IT engineer building a clean pipe, a perfect semantic model, and the analyst does all the heavy lifting, all the custom calculations right there on the glass? It could change the career path.
Something to ponder as you are studying your calculate functions.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for breaking all this down. To our listener, consider this your call to action. Go schedule that exam. Nothing creates focus like a deadline on the calendar.
Good luck. You've got this.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you